Good afternoon. Building peace and safety in Columbus. What would that mean? Building peace and safety in Columbus. I'm reminded of a quote from John Paul II on building peace and safety. And here is what he said. Opting for peace and safety does not mean a passive consent to evil or compromise of principle. It demands an active struggle against hatred, oppression, and disunity, but not by using methods of violence. Building peace and safety requires creative and courageous action. Creative and courageous action. My name is Father Vince Wynn, and I am the new priest administrator at two churches on the south end of Columbus, Corpus Christi off of Lockbourne Road and St. Ladislaus off of Parsons Avenue. I started at these two parishes 4 months ago, and I am truly blessed to be located on the south end. Thank you. My parishes on the south end have been working to find out ways to not only build up our local church community, but to also be a loving presence on the south end. We do have a food pantry that serves the underprivileged, but the question remains, can we do more for our neighbors for their common good? Talking with the Southside Pride Center manager, Miss Beth Fairman-Kinney, we began to figure out different ways the parishes can help the South End. Now, everyone in Columbus knows the increase in violence happening in our great city, especially on my end of Columbus. I hear the sirens and police helicopter at least once a week. There are used needles and contraceptives around my churches. But what can we do to deal with this head on? Has the mayor done anything about it? Well, in fact, Mayor Ginther knows the increase in violence and decided to take creative and courageous action to try to build peace and safety in Columbus. Over the past couple of months, Mayor Ginther has had several community roundtable discussions throughout Columbus. I hosted the South End community discussion at one of my parishes with various community members, including some here, to offer feedback for a strategic public safety initiative that the city can implement, and to also stress a community-based approach to address community safety concerns. Mayor Ginther, along with Chief of Police Kim Jacobs, Director Carla Scott, and the Director of Public Safety, Ned Pettis Jr., were present at the meeting as well to show their support and show that safety is a huge priority and that they are here to help. The meeting was productive because our concerns were communicated and the realization that there needs to be creative and courageous action was obvious since the present standard is not working. There are many resources that the city has, but communication and a willingness to work with each other and with the city to know these resources must exist for any action to be productive. On behalf of the South End, we would like to thank you, Mayor Ginther, for taking initiative on this huge endeavor and hope we may continue to work together to make this city a safer place. Today, Mayor Ginther is here to communicate safety initiatives the city plans to implement, and I look forward once these initiatives are implemented. Without further ado, I present to you Mayor Ginther.
Thank you, Father Vince, for that kind introduction, and as you mentioned, for hosting one of our community roundtables, and appreciate everyone that participated in those roundtables. Many of you have joined us here today. To my council colleagues, to President Klein and to President Pro Tem Tyson, Councilmember Stenziano, Hardin, Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your engagement and leadership in bringing us to this point today. Many community members, many of you are here that have participated in roundtables and discussions over the last several months. I am grateful to have you here today. Next week, I will present the 2018 operating budget for the City of Columbus to Columbus City Council for their consideration. This will be a balanced proposal that will reflect the continued priorities of my administration. And I want to thank the Chief of Police, Kim Jacobs, Safety Director Pettis, Finance Director Lombardi, and all of our city staff for your hard work in helping to develop this budget proposal. Public safety will once again be the highest priority in our proposed budget, representing more than 2/3 of the general fund budget. As I developed this budget, I met with people and organizations across the spectrum and across this great city. Faith leaders, the NAACP, the People's Justice Project, the Fraternal Order of Police, faith in public life, and civic and community leaders from every area of our city. In every meeting, I heard a clear refrain: all of our families deserve public safety that's transparent, accountable, and responsive. I've built this budget on that foundation. Today, I am announcing a comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy based on feedback from our community, insights from law enforcement professionals, and data-driven, proven practices from other cities. This comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy reflects our shared belief that every resident and every family deserves to be safe in every neighborhood. And if we are to achieve this goal, we must begin new initiatives to address crime differently while continuing to invest in proven safety strategies in our city. Friends, we face three great safety challenges in Columbus today: the unacceptable spike in homicides, the rise of the opiate addiction crisis, and the strained relationships between our community and the police. As your mayor, I am deeply disturbed by the spike in homicides in our community. Each homicide brings with it pain and sadness for the victim's family, as well as real suffering of other families and those impacted in our neighborhoods. We know that our minority communities are disproportionately affected by this spike in homicides. More than 70% of the homicide victims this year alone have been African American men between the ages of 18 and 40. 70%. That is a startling fact that should galvanize this community to action. It is a trend we will not tolerate in the city of Columbus. What we know about the spike in homicides is this: drug and gang violence is a contributing factor. The opiate crisis has created desperate circumstances for people struggling with addiction. In the number of homicides committed with guns, there is an increase in the number of shots fired on these scenes, which has meant more victims. We have had 8 double homicides this year. And sadly, we've also seen an increase in homicides related to domestic disputes. What's more, of the 113 homicides we've experienced to date, more than half of the investigations remain unsolved, and nearly as many have no known suspect or motive. Our detectives are working tirelessly to solve these homicides, but many in our community do not feel comfortable talking to the police, either out of their fear of law enforcement or from retaliation from others in our community. The strained relations between the police and some of our Columbus neighbors is not new, and it is not unique to Columbus. It is at the heart of a national conversation about where and how we address public safety in our cities. This was driven home for me again as we embarked on our community conversations over the last few months with many of you who are here today. I think you'd agree our discussions were insightful. Father, the feedback was pretty candid and at times difficult to hear. But these are tough conversations we need to have to improve neighborhood safety and community police relations. We can only tackle these safety challenges through new approaches to policing, approaches that empower our neighborhoods, invest in our officers with the best possible training, policies, and procedures, and bring the full resources of our city to bear for communities struggling with spikes in violent crime. I know our community and our officers are firmly committed to working together as we tackle these issues, and I will be there supporting that collaborative effort every step of the way. Last week, we talked about the first step in this strategy to break the cycle of violent crime in our neighborhoods. We've launched the Focused Deterrence Program, Safe Neighborhoods, with the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. We're also partnering with the Franklin County Juvenile Court to expand our Recreation and Parks Department's Job Readiness Program, investing more than $200,000 to provide young adults with a real alternative to reoffending. This is in addition to $600,000 for other job programs with our Recreation and Parks Department. But to better respond to people in crisis, we are committing that 50% of all of our frontline community-facing police officers will receive crisis intervention training by 2020. In addition, every new police recruit will receive this critical training. We will also continuing funding that ensures that 100% of our police officers receive training in implicit bias, cultural competency, and mental health crisis response. And as part of that commitment to our training, we'll be working with the Chief of Police to submit our mental health training curriculum to the International Association of Chiefs of Police for review to make sure we meet and exceed best practices for interacting with people impacted by mental illness. Our new and expanded neighborhood safety strategies will be funded in part through a new $2 million Neighborhood Safety Strategies Fund in the 2018 budget. The $2 million fund will allow our Division of Police to effectively implement these programs while maintaining the patrols we need in Columbus. I'm proud to announce that this new fund will allow us to expand our Safe Streets initiative to additional opportunity neighborhoods in 2018. We know that Linden Safe Streets, the bike patrol program there, was a powerful example that I heard directly from the residents of Linden of the positive impact it had in their neighborhood. And it's a great example of neighborhood-based policing. During this police bike patrol program, Linden saw a 55% decrease in reported gun violence, as well as lower levels of assaults and aggravated assaults during the program this year. Just as important, these officers and the community work together to tackle crime with over 2,000 community interactions and 100 crime tips. In 2018, we will also expand Safe Streets to include foot patrols, a pilot program proposed by the Fraternal Order of Police and the NAACP. Our foot patrol program will be placed in an opportunity neighborhood and will be based on recommendations that have been independently evaluated by the National Institute of Justice, the research arm of the Department of Justice. And to further our trauma-informed responses to violent crime, the 2018 budget funds a program manager and 4 caseworkers for the CARE Coalition that Columbus City Council launched this year. Those folks will be based in public health under the leadership of our new health commissioner, Dr. Roberts. The coalition services that directly address the trauma that families and neighbors experience because of violent crime, empowering them to recover in their neighborhoods. This is critical because we know that violent crimes create a ripple of trauma and crisis throughout the entire neighborhood. In response to a recommendation from Chief Jacobs, we will also expand our efforts to solve gang and drug-related homicides. We will be doing that by directing more officers to investigate these unsolved crimes. To continue investing in our safety forces, the 2018 budget will support 2 police classes, each with 35 recruits. Our division is strongest when we reflect the diversity and values of this community. So we will continue to invest in our diversity recruitment efforts in 2018. In addition, I have charged the Director of Public Safety with developing a comprehensive strategic plan to double the minority representation within the divisions of police and fire in the next 10 years. We will also continue our $10 million commitment to equip police officers with body-worn cameras and expect to have approximately 1,400 police officers outfitted by the end of 2018. The 2018 budget invests more than $1 million in new initiatives to combat opiate addiction in support of the Franklin County Opiate Action Plan. Our nation, state, and community are fighting an unprecedented opiate addiction epidemic, and the city needs to step up our resources and leverage other public and private partners to battle this epidemic together. We know fighting this opioid crisis must be a collaborative effort, which is why we have partnered with Franklin County, Adam H., and others to strike at the causes and work toward prevention, treatment, and safety throughout our community. We will also continue current city efforts to battle the opioid crisis. In particular, our first responders will continue to administer naloxone to reverse opiate overdoses thanks to the continued funding in the 2018 proposed budget. As part of our focus on funding new programs that meet our goals of decreasing homicides, tackling opiate addiction, and increasing community police relations, the program known as the Community Safety Initiative will end in 2017. We will continue to get drugs and guns off the street, but our investments will be in comprehensive neighborhood safety strategies that build relationships with our residents. These are the first steps in my comprehensive neighborhood safety strategy. But we have many more steps to take together as a community. A next step in this new strategy is the creation of a violent crime review group to address our unacceptable homicide rate. This strategy has been proven very effective with multi-departmental reviews of infant deaths and fatal opioid overdoses. We will adapt this model to address violent crime in our neighborhoods. This new group, led by Dr. Roberts, will seek to lower homicide rates in specific neighborhoods through a focused, multi-departmental review of and response to violent crimes. A similar program in Milwaukee saw a 52% decrease in homicides. This group will conduct a real-time review of violent crimes, criminal justice review of crime trends, and develop neighborhood-specific crime intervention strategies in collaboration with the community. To support the work of the Violent Crime Review Group, we are launching 2 new intervention strategies that recognize we cannot police our way out of this spike in homicides. First, we are establishing a new cross-departmental neighborhood crisis response led by Director Carla Williams-Scott, our Director of the Department of Neighborhoods. Our neighborhood crisis response will strengthen neighborhoods by coordinating the resources of our city to create physical and social deterrence to crime. Solutions may range from installing streetlights in alleys and cracking down on nuisance code issues to housing stabilization and after-school programming. We will invest $1.8 million to begin this program in 2018, and we'll add more resources to it in the 2018 capital budget. Second, to enhance the great work of our community liaison officers, we will begin establishing neighborhood safety committees led by the local community liaison officer and made up of Block Watch volunteers and community leaders. Through regular meetings with the CLOs and representatives from other city departments, these committees will review information from the Violent Crime Review Group and give real-time feedback on our neighborhood intervention strategies. Most importantly, these committees will enhance, not replace, the valuable work already being done by block watches and safety committees as part of area commissions and civic organizations. These are the concrete steps we're taking now to approach public safety differently in our neighborhoods. But we have much more to do. Looking ahead, I believe we need a public, transparent, community review of the Columbus Police training, policies, and procedures. A review that recommends proven safety strategies to meet our residents' expectations and to protect and serve our entire community. To that end, I am creating the Columbus Community Safety Advisory Committee. This commission will lead critical work made up of 11 people who reflect our community's diversity. Over the next month, we will announce an application process and timeline for the commission's work. I'm also seeking an objective, independent consultant to support this work, and will ask the commission to recommend the right consultant from those who respond to a public request for proposals. The Columbus Community Safety Advisory Commission will openly and thoroughly review existing research and recommendations of respected law enforcement and social justice experts. In particular, they will draw on the experience and advice of similar groups, like former President Obama's Task Force on 21st Century Policing and the Ohio Task Force on Community Police Relations, to identify best practices that work for our community. This commission will focus on areas such as de-escalation, crisis intervention, and implicit bias training, our use of force policies, diversity recruitment and retention, and early intervention and officer wellness programs. In each area, the Commission will assess what we need to do differently to public safety services to make sure that they are transparent, accountable, and responsive for every person in every neighborhood in our great city. At the end of the Commission's work, I expect a clear, concrete plan that is achievable and measurable. Just as important, I expect that this plan reflect the voices and values of our community. I want to thank Council President Zach Klein for his leadership, support, and advocacy for an independent third-party review of our police training, tactics, and procedures. I look forward to releasing the full 2018 General Fund budget next week, outlining additional priorities and areas of focus for my administration. As I have said before, these goals and priorities do not represent a one-year agenda, but rather a comprehensive and strategic multi-year plan. We will continue to fund our police and fire recruits and make critical investments in the tools and technology to keep our first responders and our residents safe. But I believe you will see that the comprehensive strategy I have presented to you today demonstrates our recognition that we need to police differently and better align our health and safety initiatives in order to address the significant challenges we face and to make life better for each and every resident in each of our neighborhoods. Thank you all for being here today.